To everybody on Instagram joining in. Hello, Instagram friends, welcome. All right, everybody. Hello, how are you all today? This is Neil with Portal to Ascension, and I'm so excited to be here with you all for an incredible event. This is going to be good. Okay, we have about 40 to 50 minutes together. Oops, I am going live on two things here. Let me just stop that. Okay, we have about 40 to 50 minutes together. Oops, I am going live on two things here. Let me just stop that. All right, give me 1 second. You would think after all these years I would figure this out, but I guess not. All right, give me 1 second. You would think after all these years I would figure this out, but I guess not. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to actually stop this while I just try to figure this out. Okay, and I am back, and we are live on multiple platforms, and we're also live on Instagram. So hello to the Instagram people there. First time I've gone live on Instagram ever on this new platform that we have. So hello to everybody. My name is Neil, and really excited to be getting into this today. This is the first of a three-part series that we're going to be doing, and today is the history of UFO disclosure, but it's going to go deeper than that. We're going to go from the 1800s to present. And the title of this is From UFOs to UAPs, because as you guys might know, the phrase has shifted over the last few years. Firstly, I'm actually in a hotel right now in Copenhagen, and my internet is really bad here. Everything seems to be fine right now, but if there is a moment where my internet goes down, I'm just gonna grab my laptop, go into the lobby downstairs, and continue. So should be fine. But if it goes down, just give me 5 minutes, and I'm gonna take the elevator down, set up, and I'll be right back on. So let me check in with everybody in the room. Hello, hello. We have Lynn from London. I am moving to London tomorrow, Lynn. And we have MF from Florida. We have AZ, Arizona in the house. And let us know on Instagram where you guys from. Check in with us. Let's contribute all our energy to this experience. And again, this is so every other day at this time, today, in 2 days, and then 4 days from now, we're going to be going live with different segments of what I'm presenting today. Today is just me. On Wednesday, I'm going to have Alan Steinfeld as my guest. And on Wednesday, we're doing a deep dive into declassified documents, guys. We're going to break them down. Alan's got a bunch of documents. I've got a bunch of them. And we're going to really take the time to have the profound epicness of what these things mean, right? Like, wait a second. What are they saying? What does that mean? What does it mean for humanity, right? Things that you don't really see people doing a deep dive on. It's just in passing. For example, the Sun newspaper released like 5 years ago, technology in Bigelow Aerospace's headquarters in Las Vegas with the technology to slow down time. Okay, it just came and went. No one even thought twice about it, right? This is huge. And then so Alan is my guest in 2 days. And then in 4 days, JK Ultra, Jen from JK Ultra, she's going to be my guest. And she is an incredible human. Hopefully she's watching this right now. And I just really appreciate everything she's doing. And I figured it would be nice to bring her on for the conscious element, because not only does she cover all the UFO stuff, but she also goes deeper into the consciousness and dimensions and how that's connected. So you can check her out. Of course, we're on Alan's channel right now, New Realities. And you can check JK Ultra on TikTok and on Instagram. Okay, so we're going to get into this because in 55 minutes, we actually have a live presentation on Portal to Ascension that's not going to be streamed. And I'm going to show you what that is. So if you guys get excited and riled up from this and you want to continue and sign up for this other event, you can go ahead and do so. So what's happening after I'm done here is we have Sari and Michael White in about 55 minutes for Remembering the Mystery Schools of Egypt, okay? And galactic integrations with humanity's ancient teachers. So if you're interested in this, go to portaltoascension.org and you can go ahead and sign up for that. All right, let's do this. I just want to see who's in the room here. We got Oregon in the house, North Carolina in the house, Virginia's representing, Ohio's representing. We got the Western Canada in the house with Tara. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's go ahead and do this, guys. We got a good amount of information to cover here. Let me make sure I have my audio share on so we can watch some clips in a moment. So today's presentation is From UFOs to UAPs by myself, Neil Arcturus Gaur. So here's the intention. We got to start everything out with an intention, right? Why am I even presenting this? Well, actually, I didn't even ask you guys, everybody in Instagram, everybody on YouTube and in Zoom, who has not heard of the recent disclosures that's happened in the last week and a half? If you have not, please say no. Please say no, because I'm just curious to know who hasn't, just so I kind of have an understanding of what we're going through here. No, no, no. Okay, cool, cool. All right, well, you're about to see it. Well, the biggest thing, right? Regardless of whether you think this is an agenda-oriented movement, regardless whether you think that there is actually not really UFOs and they're lying to us and putting out their information, or if it is UFOs and extraterrestrial connection, regardless of that, the largest occurrence of data dump of information and whistleblowers in probably all of the UFO disclosure history, except for when they moved from ridiculing UFOs to making it a serious topic, just occurred in the last week and a half, and it's been going on pretty much every single day since then. So this is some of what we're going to cover and what we're going to get up to, but we're going to get into those more into the next couple of ones. Today, we're going to go from the history just to show you what's been going on. So the intention of today's presentation. This presentation is a part of a series of disclosures, information, awareness, and spiritual truths that are designed to take us on a journey from about the 1850s to present day, exploring the evolution and the awareness of UFOs in the public eye. We will also show how and why we went from ridiculing this topic to the truth embargo. The truth embargo is the embargo that the shadowy elements of the world have imposed on the topic of UFOs and extraterrestrials in order to hide the truth. That's called the truth embargo. Why the truth embargo ended with this in-depth exploration of disclosures and testimonies. And ultimately, we will connect the dots to become aware of what role consciousness plays in this and why the disclosure of extraterrestrial life is a spiritual pursuit. That is the result of the end result of all of this. And that's what will be happening on the third one. And then just to let you guys know, after the third one in July, we're doing a 6-hour UFO, extraterrestrial, and consciousness conference called the Cosmic Chronicles that is also going to be absolutely free. And now, why are these events free on Portal to Ascension? We have a lot of paid events too, right? The topic of UFOs, this one is probably the largest and the biggest topic in the world. Some people might say, no, homelessness is. No, people are starving in these countries. That is. Well, the reason why this is so important is because all topics within that, our belief systems, our spirituality, the petrodollar, energy, consciousness, our ancestry, our forgetfulness and amnesia on this planet, the delusion that we live within, all can be solved with the understanding of our place within the cosmos and our connection to the stars, right? So it truly is. And not only that, all illness, sickness, cancers, disharmony and harmony, how to cultivate it, all of these topics fall within the disclosure of UFOs, which is why it's one of the biggest topics that has been controlled, and which is why you got to use a lot of discernment when it comes to the information being released right now into the mainstream. So starting with the history here, the term flying saucer. So I want to start out with the term flying saucer, the term UFO, just kind of show you how we actually ended up with those terms. Well, the term flying saucer was coined by an American journalist named Kenneth Arnold. On June 24, 1947, Arnold claimed to have witnessed a group of 9 high-speed crescent-shaped objects flying near Mount Rainier in Washington state. In describing their motion, Arnold compared it to saucers skipping on water, which led to the popularization of the term flying saucers in the media. While Arnold's sighting played a significant role in the early UFO phenomena, it is important to note that these objects he saw did not resemble traditional saucers. Rather, it was describing the movement of these craft. And then, of course, we have UFOs. So when did the term UFOs even begin? The term UFO, unidentified flying object, was coined by the United States Air Force in 1952. It was created to provide a more neutral and non-committal alternative to the terms like flying saucer or flying discs, which were associated with the earlier sightings and reports of unidentified aerial phenomena. The United States Air Force's Project Blue Book, which we'll talk about in a moment, which investigated UFO sightings, adopted the term UFO as a standardization classification for any observed object or phenomenon in the sky that could not be identified. So the question is, right, we're going to pose some questions here. And I would love for all of you on YouTube, Instagram, and whatever other platforms we're on, and on Zoom as well, get involved in the conversation. Today, we're going to go straight presentation, but on in 2 days from now and in 4 days from now, it's going to be a little longer because I don't have a presentation right after this on those days. And we're going to have a discussion. And if you're available and want to come on to Zoom on camera and speak and tell us your opinion, we're going to go ahead and do that too. So please get the conversation going, because I'm not doing this to present to you. I'm doing this because I want to have a conversation with you guys, because this is some real stuff going on here. This is really huge. Not even just the fact that it could result in the disclosure of extraterrestrial life, but even if it's got to do with the technology that exists, and we don't even talk about the ET life, this technology could completely shift our paradigm and is hundreds of years in the future than what we have on the planet right now. Okay. So what can occur with this disclosure, what can occur with all this stuff coming down, is a complete shift of the way we perceive ourselves and the way we interact with the world. So the question is, has the shadowy organizations, I'm going to be careful with my terminology here not to get banned, have the shadowy organizations and governmental agencies held the truth from the public for decades? And is there a UFO crash retrieval department that has reverse engineered and examined UFOs and also had interaction with extraterrestrial bodies, both alive and deceased? And for those of you who said you have not heard of what has happened, around a week ago, a whistleblower, one of the highest decorated intelligence officers, also served in Afghanistan and was also part of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force that was created by the US government a few years ago because of the result of the release of certain UFO videos that you may have seen. He has come out and said that he has evidence and has all these whistleblowers coming and documentation that the US government, some aspects of it, have been dealing with UFO crash retrievals for decades. And not only, we'll show the video later, not only have they got UFOs, and one article said other intelligence officers came out the next day and they said there's 12 UFOs that they have in their possession. But if you go into some other whistleblowers that Dr. Greer has brought out and other people, there's over 100 UFOs in custody right now. And the UFO crash retrievals, he also said when they asked, were there bodies? And he goes, well, you know, you would think that if there's UFOs that have been crashed, you're going to find bodies both dead and alive. And then he said, well, yes. And that's exactly what they found. And this was on mainstream, well, almost mainstream news. We'll get into that in a moment here, because the mainstream is actually stonewalling this and on some level, but it's too freaking profound for them to completely stonewall. So it's coming out and it's slowly leaking into all aspects of reality. And I just want to share this at the bottom. What I've been doing is, for the last week, I've been releasing all of our UFO crash retrieval footage on YouTube, and we also have some more footage coming out in the next week. And you can see here Clifford Stone. He was the foremost whistleblower. He was the foremost whistleblower on UFO crash retrievals. He was on the UFO crash retrieval team. So we did an interview with him because he lived in Roswell before he passed away a few years ago. And you can check out the interview there. It's with Paula Harris, Jacques Vallée. We're going to talk about this UFO crash retrieval in a moment here. He's also on our YouTube channel, Portal to Ascension YouTube channel, talking about a really unknown, unspoken about UFO crash retrieval. Then we have Stephen Greer talking about it as well, and also talking about the craft that has been reverse engineered that was not actually extraterrestrial, but was reverse engineered extraterrestrial craft. So let's start in the beginning. Well, really, the UFO phenomena has been happening forever. In the 1800s, there was also a few UFO sightings and crashes that occurred. And then the early 1900s, there was some as well. But then when we get into the 1940s, 1930s, all of a sudden it kicks up. And the reason for this is because our sensors kicked up. We were flying now, wars occurred, there was battles happening in air, and we just had the ability to notice it. So the did it actually pick up momentum in the 1930s and 40s, or was it always happening? And then we just started being able to engage and going into, into the air and started seeing them. That's the question. So here are some notable cases that happened in the 1800s. Aurora, Texas UFO incident in 1897. This is one of the most popular ones about the 1800s. According to local legends, in April 1897, a UFO crashed in Aurora, a small town in Texas. The story goes that the UFO struck a windmill, causing it to be destroyed, and the pilot, described as an alien, died in the crash. Supposedly, the townspeople buried the body in a local cemetery. The Aurora, Texas incident gained significant attention in the 1970s. It was a resurrection of that awareness when it was featured in the documentaries UFOs, Past, Present, and Future by Ray Santilli and in subsequent publications. And another one, in 1864, we have in Cape Girardeau, Missouri incident, where it's claimed that a UFO crash occurred and 3 alien bodies were recovered there. There are also accounts of UFO crashes in Tunguska region of Siberia in 1908. Some of you might have heard of this one. And the Black Forest region of Germany in the 1800s. In Tunguska region, it flattened acres of trees. So some people say it was a meteorite, other people say it was a UFO, but there was also accounts of the sightings there that something occurred that abnormally flattened all these trees. And then we have Los Angeles, 1942. There was something called the Battle of Los Angeles. During World War II, on February 25th, 1942, a large unknown object was reported flying over Los Angeles, California. It resulted in a widespread anti-aircraft artillery barrage, causing panic and confusion. The object was eventually determined to be a false alarm, possibly caused by a weather balloon or world nerves. Okay, and you're going to see this often, many times, even recently when they had the sightings that they said was a weather balloon from China. And I don't know if you guys remember, just like a year ago, there was a couple of things that was shot down in U.S. airspace. And then after one of them was shot down, the one that they thought was some anomalous craft, and China said it wasn't theirs, they were going to go and retrieve this object. And then they decided not to. Okay. You think they really decided not to? They didn't know what it is. They tried to tell people it was a weather balloon. Then they said it wasn't a weather balloon, and all the governments were denying it was theirs. And then all of a sudden, when it lands, they said they're not going to go ahead and pursue it and actually grab that, which they most likely did. And then we have the Foo Fighters. The term Foo Fighters originated during World War II to describe a phenomena observed by pilots who reported seeing mysterious aerial objects. Excuse me one moment, guys. During the war, both Allied and Axis pilots reported encountering inexplicable glowing balls and orbs and the other unusual aerial phenomena. These objects were described as glowing, fast-moving, and capable of maneuvering in ways that exceeded the capabilities of known aircraft at the time. The term Foo Fighters was coined by the US pilots, and it was derived from the French word feu, meaning fire. Some of you may have heard of the band called Foo Fighters. They actually named themselves after these. The Foo Fighters were initially thought to be secret weapons or new technology employed by the enemy. Sound familiar? That's what they've been saying about the UFOs that have come out into the public eye recently. But subsequent investigations afterwards failed to find any evidence of such technology. So what were they? And then here is the UFO crash that no one spoke about until now. In 1945, 2 years before Roswell, there was a UFO crash in San Antonio, New Mexico. 2 boys saw this craft and the extraterrestrial insect-like beings inside the craft. We, well, actually my ex-wife and myself, actually visited the site with Paula Harris, and we had the opportunity to go with the last survivor, Jose, to the site in when we went to visit Roswell and visit Clifford Stone around 6-7 years ago. And when we went there, we got to interview him. Unfortunately, my camera didn't pick up the audio because I was not a good camera person at that time, and the wind got in the way of the microphone. But when we were there, there was actually nothing in the area where the UFO landed. It was this round disc space. You could still see where it landed, right? And nothing grows inside that area. All the things grow around it, but nothing was growing inside that area. The last witness has recently just passed away, and Paula Harris was the lead investigator, giving her the credit here because she really did a lot of work with this one, traveled there. Oops, almost dropped my phone. Paula Harris did a lot of work there, and she traveled there and interviewed him and did, got the story out recently. And Jacques Vallée, who is also on our YouTube channel talking about this, he assisted her in this as well. When Roswell occurred, there was a deliberate redirection to that case, an attempt to move away from the 1945 case. So this is just my own theory here, because it's very interesting that, the San Antonio case was a huge case, like what was there and what was discovered and what happened. And when Roswell occurred, there was like a redirection to try to take the awareness off the 1945 case. Because if you guys think, when did UFOs come into the mainstream, everybody points to Roswell, but it really happened 2 years earlier in 1945 with this case that no one speaks about. And again, go to Portal to Ascension YouTube and watch the last 2 to 3 videos if you want to know more about that. And Roswell and San Antonio both occurred during nuclear bomb testing in that area. Very interesting. Let's take a pause and ask ourselves here, why are they crashing? Okay, why are they crashing? So this is a genuine question that happens from the mainstream as well. Like I've been watching, I watch mainstream news in order to just see what they're doing, what the agenda is. But I watch like more almost mainstream news, but not really, but YouTube channels that are regular people that maybe aren't deeply into conspiracies like we are and deeply into the spiritual stuff, but are just like questioning reality and what's going on and questioning the agendas and corruption. I watch a lot of that stuff just because they actually pick up on these things because they're genuinely curious about it, but they're just not in the world we are. And it gives me kind of a microcosm of a lot of people who are going anti-establishment of what they're thinking now, right? And the one thing that I've seen them say a few times on Kim Iverson's show, Jimmy Dore, Breaking Points, like shows like that are kind of like that, even though they definitely have their own narratives and agendas that they believe in, is, well, if these craft flew all the way here from another place in the universe, how do you really think that they would crash? So this is one of the reasons why they're like doubting it, right? Well, I doubt that they're going to crash because they came here from another place in the universe, and the technology to get here must be so advanced that they're not just going to crash as soon as they get here. Well, this goes into some of the whistleblower testimony that's come out. The mainstream narrative I just shared with you. So as per Dr. Greer, the black budget programs have mastered anti-gravity as of October 1954. Okay, so anti-gravity was mastered in October of 1954. And also reverse engineered technology to down UFOs and to tamper with the propulsion systems, and many of them are indeed fully intact and have not crashed at all. So we actually, not we, but they, whoever, has the technology reverse engineered to create a disturbance in propulsion systems to actually down UFOs. And, not all of them can, because it's light ships, there's all types of ETs and beings visiting us. And then also many of these craft, as per David Grush, who's the whistleblower just came out, actually are fully intact. And also as per Clifford Stone in some of the interviews we did with him, he was speaking about going and being deployed to certain sites and actually having a fully intact UFO just waiting there for them. UFOs and nuclear facilities. So it seems like if there's one thing that is really popular within the sightings of UFOs is them showing up at nuclear facilities. And here's just a list of just a few places that we see that. We have Maelstrom Air Force Base in Montana, US, March 16, 1967, multiple UFO sighting and observed by security personnel near the Minuteman Interconnected Ballistic Missile Sites. Rendlesham Forest Incident in England, December 26 and 28, 1980. Several U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at RAF Bentwaters reported seeing a triangular-shaped craft land in Rendlesham Forest near the nuclear weapons storage. Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant in New York, August 2004. A security officer reported seeing a large triangular object hovering above the Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant. Nellis Air Force Base, January 18, 2015. Security personnel at Nellis Air Force Base reported observing a mysterious object flying near the nuclear weapons storage area. The sighting prompted an investigation by the Air Force. And then we have just one more. There's so many of these. Incirlik Air Base in Adana, Turkey, July 17, 2019. Security forces at the air base reported sighting of unidentified flying objects over the base's restricted area, which includes a nuclear weapons storage facility. Just like in Roswell, in New Mexico during those years, there was nuclear testing going on. So why are we seeing these craft at nuclear bases? Well, here's two things I want to share with you. One is, and we'll get into this, a lot of these government officials, intelligence officers are not in the know. They are just living the life of war, protection, national security. So they immediately just go to protection, national security. What are these? We don't know what they are. They might be a threat, right? And then also they're seeing them at nuclear facilities. So all of a sudden they're like, what is this? Is this a foreign adversary trying to look at our nuclear facilities? They're trying to attack us? Oh, wait, what is this? Is this something other than our foreign adversaries? Maybe an alien threat, right? Now we have that whole narrative coming through. Maybe an alien threat that they're coming to do something to our nuclear warheads, right? Just a side note, there was also a case in Russia where the nuclear codes were scrambled after a UFO sighting. Scrambled UFO nuclear codes in which they weren't able to use the codes to release nuclear warheads. And then the other element I want to share is what Dolores Cannon said. Many of you guys probably know who Dolores Cannon is. If you do know who Dolores Cannon is, just say yes, and let's just send her some energy in the room because she passed away a number of years ago. She's a beautiful soul that contributed so much to this field. So Dolores Cannon said that what occurred is through one of her regressions that she did, that in around the 1940s, there was a call out to the universe. That what happened is when we started using nuclear weapons, that there was a call out to the universe because we were now able to interfere and interact with other dimensions. Because what happens when you release a a nuclear warhead? You're literally splitting the atom. When you split the atom, this energy is going into other dimensions, a dimension within the dimension. In essence, it peels back space-time, right? And the energy flows through it. And we have the ability to destroy other worlds, realities, collapse timelines. Who knows what we're able to do? And even destroy ourselves. So she said that she was hearing from a lot of these regressions that in the 1940s, when we started using nuclear warheads, there was a call out to the universe for volunteers to come down to Earth. Right now, we have the 3 waves that she mentioned, and these volunteers incarnated because they weren't able to actually have an effect on Earth, effect on humanity, without actually incarnating into human form because of the law of non-interference. So this all, not only are we seeing them there, but we've also heard from Dolores Cannon, that's just like a quick summary right there, that our connection to nuclear energy really shifted something within the universe. So now we're going to get into the timeline here, the 100-year timeline from UFOs to UAPs. Of course, in 1947, we have the Roswell incident. The UFO crash was reported in New Mexico. Initially, the U.S. military stated that it was a flying disc, but later redacted the statement claiming it was a weather balloon. And then 1952, just a few years later, we have Project Blue Book. And you can look up, there's many documentaries now on Project Blue Book. J. Allen Hynek was the lead of Project Blue Book. Paul Hynek, who was his son, he now speaks at many UFO conferences and spoke on Portal to Ascension multiple times. also is continuing the legacy, if you will. The U.S. Air Force conducted an investigation into UFO sightings called Project Blue Book. It collected and analyzed thousands of reports. Jalen Hynek went into this program as a skeptic and came out a believer because there were literally reports in there that he could not answer. And in 1966 to 1968 was the Condon Committee. The University of Colorado conducted a scientific study funded by the Air Force. The final report stated UFOs did not present a threat to national security. Okay, it didn't say UFOs don't exist. It didn't say UFOs could be something that they know what they are and they've identified them now. They agreed that UFOs are unidentified and there's something happening, but they were looking to see if it was a threat. And from their research of the history of this phenomena from World War II till present, at that moment, they realized there was no threat to national security. And then what did they do? They recommend the termination of official investigations. So you got to read carefully between the lines because they do these things in order to avoid legal repercussions. They recommended the termination of official investigations, not all investigations. They just recommended that, okay, we realize these things do not present a threat, mission complete, termination of official investigations. Well, what occurs usually after that, as per Project Blue Book and also this committee, is when they realize something works, when they realize they have something that is huge. They actually go off the books and become black budget SAPs, which is special access programs. And of course, a good amount of things happened between then to 2001, but we have another milestone. 2001, the Disclosure Project. Stephen Greer, a former emergency room physician, organized a press conference called the Disclosure Project. Greer and other witnesses, including military personnel, claimed to have insider knowledge of UFOs and extraterrestrial visitation. And then in 2017, it was revealed 2007. I skipped something here, so I'm just going to go right to 2017. 2001 and 2017, let me just say, there was a lot of things coming out, right? There was Steve Bassett and his efforts. There was a congressional hearing that were ex-Congress members. There was all the movement from the people that we work with, Grant Cameron, many, many whistleblowers coming out and for the Disclosure Project, and then also independent researchers picking up the efforts, led to Moulton Howe. So during that time, the energy towards UFOs and the community that we're connected with and is getting this awareness out really started amplifying. And then we go up until 2017. It was revealed that the US Department of Defense had been conducting a secret program called ATIP to study unidentified aerial phenomena. And then all of a sudden, this was the other huge thing that occurred, in the history of disclosure, was a validation and a confirmation that many of us who people thought were crazy, it was not the case. And they actually came out that they were actually studying unidentified aerial phenomena. And more quite possibly, Project Blue Book continued, and this was a black budget program. And however, there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation around ATIP. I encourage you to go and look at ASWAP, which is AAWSAP, and look how this is connected to ATIP, because this right here, this 2017 incident was the number one agenda-oriented incident. The way it came out, the people that were behind it, this was the beginning of drip disclosure. Now, the question is, why were the drip disclosing? Right, we'll get into the drip disclosure in a moment. What are the possible reasons? So then we go to 2016. Hillary Clinton appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live and discussed the topic of UAPs on March 24, 2016. Clinton expressed interest in investigating UAPs and pledged to release information related to the phenomena. I was actually going to show this video here, but I forgot to put it in the presentation. So let me see. Let me do a time check here. I think we have time for it. Let me pull it up for you guys. This will be a cool thing to see. I think this is it. Okay.
Zapier's automation is the easiest way to keep your pipeline in motion. Connect over 5,000 apps.
I know you think of your husband as your secret weapon, but I have something. I feel like I am going to be your secret weapon now because I'm going to help you win this election.
This was the move from UFO to UAP. Okay, this is followed by the WikiLeaks email. We'll get into the timeline in just a moment here, but this is when it got coined. And it was because they spent so much time ridiculing UFOs that they wanted to take it and make it something else, UAP, so that they, they can get behind another term because they're responsible for the ridicule of it all.
No problem. Are you familiar with mansplaining? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that's when
So mansplaining is a way that we men can help and do whatever it is you usually do. Serious, but not too serious. You want to be stylish without I feel the need.
Oh man, I don't think this.
America is the greatest country.
Don't smile like.
All right. Anyways, I'm not gonna be able to show it to you guys, so definitely go look for it elsewhere. This was 100% agenda right there. Okay, back to this presentation. It's interesting. It was actually very easy to find before, but look for it. And basically, what she says is, Jimmy goes, "Are you going to, when you get into office, are you going to do what your husband couldn't do and release the UFO files?" And she goes, Jimmy. We don't call them UFOs anymore. They're called UAPs, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. One thing you got to know about these late night talk show hosts that have completely been hijacked, right? If a presidential candidate goes on there, every question is spoke about before the candidate goes on. They don't just go on there blindly. Like, they're completely in bed with each other. So that whole thing was so contrived that you had to really have your blinders on not to see that that was the case. And it was a deliberate push to move and change the term. So then we go just a few months later, during the 2016 presidential campaign, WikiLeaks publishes a series. Publishes a series of, during the 2016 US presidential campaign, WikiLeaks publishes a series of leaked emails from John Podesta. Some of these emails touch on the subject of UFOs. And if you look on our YouTube, because we went deep into this, Grant Cameron all over the place, like 50,000 view videos on YouTube with this stuff. We were really looking at the documents here. They were talking about non-human intelligences. Same thing that David Grush just said. They were speaking about that in those emails. I need to have a conversation about the non-human intelligences that are benevolent in our solar system, was one of the emails, okay? Not getting into politics here, because all these people, I believe, are working on the same side. I'm just telling you what actually happened, right? And some of these emails touch on the subject of UFOs or mention related individuals and organizations. So just taking a moment here, I just want to check in with everybody on Instagram. My phone is only at 3% Instagram friends, so it's going to probably pass out in a few minutes. So if you want to continue watching this, everybody on IG, go to youtube.com/portal2ascension, youtube.com/portal2ascension, and join us there. But I'm going to keep my phone going right into the last minute. And everybody watching as well, in about 25 minutes, we have our Egypt presentation starting. So we're going to be just going on for around 20 minutes here. And we have 3 full series. So we're going to continue this on those other times as well. So in 2017, Tom DeLonge went live on Twitter. Who's Tom DeLonge? He is the ex-Blink-182 singer. Anybody know Blink-182? A lot of you probably already know this story here. And he was always into UFOs and actually came out with a book on it. And at one point, maybe still, thought that they were a threat and even could be demonic. And he went live on Twitter to discuss To the Stars Academy on October 11, 2017, right? So look at this, all the activity that happened in these years, right? During the live stream, he introduced the world to TTSA, where we got introduced to Chris Mellon. We got introduced to, I forget the other guy's name at this point, but he's the one that we see everywhere, the ATIP guy. And we got introduced to a whole team of ex-CIA, ex-NASA, ex-intelligence officers that literally just left their position a few days earlier, which is not suspicious at all. And they were there saying and talking about the Nimitz incident. And we then had the release of the first video that was a series of videos that followed, which were about disclosing UAPs, right? So that's what happened in 2017. I messed up on the timeline here a bit, so I'm gonna jump this one because I already said that one. And then in 2017, we have the United States Navy UFO incident. 3 videos known as FLIR 1 and Gimbal and Go Fast videos were released in collaboration with the New York Times and the Washington Post reverse engineered craft / strip disclosure. So this was released by To the Stars Academy and was those videos that we see everywhere, and even the coverage that Portal to Ascension got at the Portal to Ascension conference from CBS and KPBS, they showed those same videos. It's been circulating over and over and over. So now the evidence suggests from Billy Carson, Stephen Greer, many whistleblowers, even Tom DeLonge himself on the Joe Rogan show spoke about these craft actually being reverse engineered craft and not ETs. One thing they didn't say in the Twitter feed from when Tom DeLonge went live on his Twitter, they didn't mention extraterrestrials at all. They just said these anomalous objects, we have no idea what they are. We want to figure it out so we can know what technology it is and we can utilize it for our own benefit. And which is, you know, where the energy has been directed up until this year, up until 2 weeks ago. The energy has been directed to what are these craft, what is the technology, rather than who's driving these craft and which one of these are not government craft and which ones are really extraterrestrial. So 2017 to 2022, continuous and routine dripping of information and videos of UFOs and a normalization, slow normalization of the subject with little to no information on ET life. 2020, and this is a whole presentation in its own here, why they put the UFO release with the COVID relief bill. In December, the COVID relief bill, including the Authorization Act, which mandated the Director of National Intelligence to submit a classified report on UAPs to Congress. The best part of the hearing, though, was classified. So they had one for the general public, and then they terminated the stream to continue the classified documents behind closed doors that we weren't able to be privy to. They released documents on this as well, and only a few papers were actually released to the public. There was a plethora of documentation that we never got a chance to see. This was also the time that Tom DeLonge got replaced by Jeremy Corbell. So I'm giving you guys a lot of information here. I'm jumping kind of into a lot of different things. And so some of you might know about the Tom DeLonge thing and Jeremy Corbell. So have you noticed how Tom DeLonge is no longer the face, and he was supposed to be the face and was actually the one behind working with the New York Times and Washington Post to release the UFOs? Well, what happened? All of a sudden, Jeremy Corbell took over. Well, on the Joe Rogan show, Tom DeLonge was on there a few years later, and he spoke about what happened. He told Joe Rogan that they were really upset with him for releasing and speaking about specific things on the Joe Rogan show at a private time. He went on Joe Rogan's show soon after the Nimitz incident came out, and he showed that these craft that he was talking about actually were technology from the US government that they had years before, and they were actually our craft. Almost the opposite of the narrative he was saying. He was saying, we don't know what these are. He went on Joe Rogan. He's like, yes, we do know what they are. He even told him what they were. And Joe Rogan brought out the images and showed it on his own show on YouTube. Okay. So, and then Tom DeLonge wrote on his Twitter just a couple of years ago that they got upset at him because of he released and went a little too excited with the information there. And he started releasing things they were not ready for him to release. Then we have a shift from Tom DeLonge, hip but old enough to be connected with these dudes, to Jeremy Corbell, the next hip guy that can actually get the younger people and everybody involved in this energy. And these people have become the face of the disclosure movement, even though there's been people working for this for decades. Got to throw this in here, Carolyn Corey, a Tear in the Sky documentary. Why is this important? Watch it on Amazon Prime, A Tear in the Sky. This is important because it's the first documentary that we have actually mainstream people in there looking and realizing that this is a reality. Michio Kaku, right? Now he's talking all about UFOs. Before he was being all theoretical about it. He was in there. William Shatner was in there. And William Shatner had his mind blown when Carolyn Corey showed him the information there. And the UFO Navy pilots from the Nimitz incident were there as well. And they were genuinely trying to figure out what happened and can they mimic this case. So this was a really beautiful milestone in us moving over to the mainstream. Now we're here in the present. David Grush comes out on the debrief stating, there has been decades-long UFO crash retrieval black budget program with craft and ET bodies. The New York Times and Washington Post turns down the story, right? So it's important to note, they turned down the story. I don't have time to go into why, but you can look that up online. The next day, we have info that there are at least 12 UFOs based in black budget programs that have been retrieved. And then just a few days later, but already planned way ahead of time, ahead of this disclosure, Stephen Greer holds a press conference in Washington, D.C. with further disclosures straight from the whistleblowers and releasing the info to the black budget sites around the U.S. that are working with this tech. So I'm going to show you a little clip of one of the things there. But what was really amazing was he provided to Congress, and he released a list of the black budget sites from all the whistleblower testimony around the U.S. where they have this craft, where they're working on it, what they're reverse engineering, and basically directions to get to the entrance, right? Here are all the black budget sites. Here's all the crimes that they're doing. This is what's happening to the people and the kind of threats that people are receiving from it all. You need to go shut them down. Here you go. So that just happened a few days ago. And again, regardless of what you think about these individuals, right? Greer, Clinton, Podesta, all these people, I'm just telling you the facts here of what's actually going down. Okay, let's take a deep breath, guys. So what's happening? Now, this part I want to talk about is compartmentalization. Congress versus the Department of Defense versus the MIC, which is the military something complex. Someone I know just got censored for using that full term, so I'm not going to say it. And so there are those that are in the know. There are those that are attempting to control and dictate a plan that's going on. There might even be some deep, shadowy government. Some people speculate it's some extraterrestrial, malicious race, right? I'm not saying what it is, I'm telling you all the possibilities. Then why is it all of a sudden that these, like Dr. Greer and other people, going to Congress and saying, hey, you need to do something about it, and Congress members are doing it? Some people might say, well, isn't Congress in bed with them? Well, the way it seems to be working is compartmentalization. That specific parts of the DoD aren't even aware of the other parts. For example, David Grush's Aerial Phenomena Anomaly organization, which was the part that was responsible for looking at these phenomena, weren't even aware of the UFO crash retrieval team. They weren't even aware of an actual secret space force that was actually going down, which also new whistleblower evidence has come out about that actually existing. And then people in Congress, I'm sure there's people that are in the know, but there's so many people that aren't, that, and they could all be corrupt for all I care, right? But being corrupt doesn't mean that you know that ETs are visiting us and we have reverse engineered craft. So there are people that are genuinely like, wait a second, this is real. We need to look into this. And then there's those that are saying, wait a second, we got some things in our skies that we don't know about. We need to look into this because we need to protect ourselves. And then there are those that are in the know. There's so much compartmentalization going on. And that there are those that are working for the disclosure. There are those that want to really know the truth. There are those that want to protect our skies. And there are those that have an agenda for maybe something more malicious. And that seems to be what's happening here. And hopefully in the next series, we will go a little deeper into that. So now I want to show you guys the articles that have come out just in the last few weeks. And I think one's a little older than that, just to show you what's been happening. So this right here is the debrief. So this is the debrief. This was what came out on June 5th. So we're, I think, almost 2 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago exactly. Intelligence officials say U.S. has retrieved crash of non-human origin. A former intelligence official turned whistleblower has given Congress the Intelligence Community Inspector General extensive classified information about deeply covert programs that he says possesses retrieved, intact, and partially intact craft of non-human origin. Okay. The information he says has been illegally withheld from Congress, and he filed a complaint against alleging that he suffered illegal retaliation for his confidential disclosures reported here for the first time. Little side note, the reason why we have more whistleblowers coming out is because Congress passed just a few months ago, I believe it was, a whistleblower protection act that allowed whistleblowers to come out to speak about this and be protected under the government. As other people, including Dr. Ray, has stated, it doesn't give you enough protections because there could still be retaliation. And he came out thinking that he would be safe. And he, for the most part, he's safe, but he's also receiving retaliation from people that he worked with and who knows what else. And then we have another one come out. This is early this year. UFO reports by U.S. troops skyrocket to over 500. So all of a sudden, many troops, like many troops, are as soldiers and military individuals are coming out and speaking about this. And when David Grush came out, that was when a lot of people came out and said that there's 12 different intelligence officers said that there's 12 UFOs that have been retrieved. And this one is on June 8th. The House Oversight plans UFO hearing after unconfirmed claims of crashed alien spacecraft. So now we have a hearing coming up, right? You know, normally I would say, after right now, like they've done too many hearings in the last year, like 2 or 3 actually only, but they've done enough hearings that nothing's come out of that I'm just like, oh, like, what's really going to happen from this, right? However, this case is a little further than the other ones. There's something in the sky. Look what's going on too. We have UFOs. These are the locations. Here's a list of all the locations. These are the craft. We have bodies as well. Let's talk about it, right? So this has actually taken it to an exponential level that it was not at just a few weeks ago. So very interesting to know. 2 days after David Grush comes out, all of a sudden there's a call to 911 in Las Vegas. You guys might have heard of this one about a UFO crashing in Vegas, right? What are the chances? And then there's this family. You can watch the video of the guy that supposedly saw the ETs, and there's some videos that have dropped off the ET that may or may not be doctored, who knows, right? Stating that there was an 8 to 10 foot ET in the backyard. And it was interesting because the police officer's body cam was on, and he went out into the streets, and him and his fellow officers had seen the crafts fall out of the sky as well, a big light fall out of the sky. It doesn't mean it crashed, it just came down. And the police officer is talking to somebody in the car, say, hey, this might sound crazy, but did you see something fall out of the sky, right? So there was a sighting that happened just a few days afterwards. So it's just so interesting the way everything lines up like this. And then we have something like this. Aliens have been on Earth for a long time and are still here. Stanford University professor claims there are experts working on reverse engineering crashed UFOs. This was in May 28th. Okay, this is before David Grush came out. And then we have the update because David Grush came out. So all this drip disclosure. And then also this, Charles Hoskin embarks on an ocean expedition to search for alien technology. And this is with Avi Loeb. So I'm going to show you this in just a moment here. Actually, let's show you this first, and then we're going to get into the videos of David Grush. Okay. Okay, we got to close out in like 2 minutes here. So, prominent Harvard physicist plans expedition to find alien artifacts that fall from space. Avi Loeb wanted to, there was a meteorite that hit near Papua New Guinea, and he believed that it could be from ET craft. And then this article here is actually something, I just want to show you guys this. We're going to close right after this. We'll get into the rest later. I'm going to read this to you. This is 2 days ago, guys. This is breaking news, okay? Not that many people know this because it's just on Avi Loeb's website. An anomalous wire made of magnesium and platinum in the Pacific Ocean on the site of the first interstellar meteor. They went down to the meteorite 2 days ago. They found an anomalous wire made of alloys that has not been made of anything on Earth before in the meteorite that they were speculating came from another solar system, and the way it came to Earth was so anomalous that it could be of extraterrestrial origin. After our first run through of the site of the first recognized interstellar meteor, we found plenty of volcanic dust on a magnetic sled containing tiny particles that are a tenth of a millimeter in size. I, Avi Loeb, was able to remove them from the sled magnets with a paintless brush. We did not anticipate this need, which illustrates the art of doing science. We thought that the harvest of this meteorite site yields the same materials control regions away from the site until we noticed a strange curled wire, which we now label IS-12. The fundamental question is, why was it not washed away by the sled or dragged by the ship? The wire is 8 millimeter long and curved twice the rigid structure. What is it made out of? So I'm really running out of time, so I'm just going to skip right here to the end to tell you what he says. But basically, it's anomalous. It's made out of alloys that we don't put together on the planet in that way. And Avi Loeb says, we're expecting to get our second sample tonight. I plan to stay awake until my morning jog at sunrise. By then, I hope to know whether the first recognized interstellar object from our cosmic neighborhood carried materials that are anomalous relative to what we find in our backyard around the sun. And most importantly, I wish to know whether it was manufactured technologically by another civilization. At dawn, I'll report back about any interesting results from a second run. So this was just added 2 days ago. They basically went to the Pacific Ocean just a few weeks ago, and they're coming out with this information now. So what's going on, right? There seems to be a huge push for the disclosure into people's consciousness that we are not alone in the universe. I wanted to get into the discernment part, but we'll get into that later. Because really, when you look at this, you look at what is the end result of what they're saying. Many times you can tell that there's an agenda behind it when they say it's a threat, that we need to protect ourselves. But what's occurring right now is we're not really seeing that within the last disclosures that's been occurring. We're seeing a move from what are these objects to who are behind these objects. So I'm very hopeful, and we're going to get into deeper stuff and some declassified documents next time that is going to be really mind-blowing what we've actually found, but not just what we found recently, what we found in the 1950s, what we found in the 1960s. There's so much evidence out there to suggest that we're not alone and they've been visiting us. There was one cool thing I wanted to show you guys. All right, I'm just going to show you this real quick and then we're going to finish. Okay, let's go right to this slide here. So there's been actual whistleblowers and individuals claiming that in 2027, ETs are going to land. Some in the community and those who are connected to intelligence officers have stated that the word got out there that they, the extraterrestrials, are going to show up in 2027. And all of a sudden, there is a huge movement towards disclosing the truth. The question is, so they basically said, hey, whatever you guys do, the quarantine is over. We're going to come down. It is time. The question is this strict disclosure with an agenda? Is this disclosure because it's inevitable, or is it both? And how do we discern the truth? Many officials and even those ignorant of the situation have speculated on there being a possible threat. When there is something in your skies that you do not know, many may jump to that conclusion, even though they have been spotted for decades, and some officials are saying that if they were dangerous, something would have already happened. The thing is, we have those in the know who are saying it's a possible threat, and also those who are not in the know who are genuinely concerned about what these are and how it affects our national security. Not everyone is a part of that agenda. So what's going to happen? Is this the case? Are ETs going to land in 2027? Are we getting closer to a world where we're going to have interaction with these beings? Do they actually live on our planet now? And there's going to be a moment where we have this awakening, this realization, right? These are some questions that I want you guys to think about, and then let's have a conversation next time when we get together in 2 days. And then ultimately, the real question here is, what does consciousness have to do with it, right? What does the spiritual connection have to do with it? How is this going to change our reality, how we perceive ourselves, and how we connect and interact with one another? Okay, guys. So that's it for now. Thank you all so much for being here. 1 minute to spare. I'm going to jump right on to the next webinar with Sari and Michael White just in a few moments, called Remembering Egypt. Thank you. Just say some stuff in the chat if you will, so I can acknowledge that you guys had a good time. and that we will be going deeper together. So see you in 2 days with Alan Steinfeld. Okay, love and appreciate you all. Take care. Bye-bye.